Sorry about 9:06. I forgot to send the link to folks, and that's kind of important when you want folks to actually join you on a show. We're stacked. John here, Jarrett there, you there. And Jarrett, we are officially in a no dilly, no dally zone this morning. Hour number 2, we've got Nino Torres joining us from Gold TV. We've got Niko Moreno joining us to talk about the Copa and MLS respectively. But we want to start out the first half hour talking about a really ugly, nasty, disgusting.
That's not a nice way to talk about the Swiss-Scottish game. Leave it alone. Yeah, it was ugly and dumb and a waste. And I've come to the conclusion that Steve Clark is Scotland's Mike Woodson. He has brought them out of the darkness, which is great. Mike Woodson brought the Hawks out of the darkness, made them a competent franchise. Steve Clark's taken them to 2 straight Euros. Good job. Don't hate the man. But Mike Woodson was never going to take you to a title. I don't think Steve Clark's going to take you to that next level.
No.
I think he should be applauded and given his flowers for getting and give him all the thistle he wants for getting you here.
Yeah.
For getting Scotland to this point, which no one else has been able to do. Give Steve Clark his flowers. But you're going to have to go get someone like David Moyes next.
Yeah, that's where.
Anyway, people don't care about that right now.
Yeah, well, yeah, we got stuff going on this morning. I think we actually do get 3 matches on over-the-air television this morning. Yeah, we do. Slovenia. Slovenia and Serbia. And Serbia basically said, you know what? We're thinking about not playing in the tournament anymore because of all of the chants that were coming our way. So they are playing at the moment, and we're goalless in the 8th minute. But
can we give their spot to someone else then?
That'd be great.
Who's the funniest team we could give their spot to?
San Marino.
There you go. Just Twitch pitch, do your job.
Yes.
The funniest team we could give their spot to if they want out.
Yes. If they don't want match day 3, then who do we give it to? I say San Marino. So we got that. All right. So Atlanta United was there. There were a lot of matches last night in Major League Soccer, and this one was certainly one of them. And the pitch at Audi Field really did see the after effects of your DC Defenders in the UFL.
It looked like the Technicolor Dreamcoat.
Yeah, it was not pretty. I mean, Brad was kicking out of sand, basically.
Well, and you mentioned it, John. I didn't realize it until you mentioned it in our chat that they had played the UFL games. Or USFL, XFL, something FL games.
Spring football, yes.
Yes, the spring football games have been there, so that turf's eaten up. It kind of reminded me of, it looks like they tried to fix it up. It just looked like it played well. Like guys were sliding all over the place. But it reminded me of, there's that stretch of time in late November, early December. If you ever watch a Pittsburgh Steelers home game, this happens every now and then. You get the equinox where they'll play the Pennsylvania High School Championships on Thursday and Friday. Pitt will play a game at Heinz Field on a Saturday for some ungodly reason. And then the Steelers will basically play in Passchendaele on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
It kind of seemed like that field was just chewed up last night.
Yeah. So that's what they were playing on, if you want to call
Alex wants to give it to Qatar.
Sure. Well, hey, that'd be a straight up FIFA move. I mean, that ain't wrong.
Head calls for
the Faroes.
Faroe Islands. Yeah, do it.
I mean, obviously we're partial to Andorra and San Marino, who are 164th and 210th in the international rankings. But it took a while. But Atlanta United ended up getting a goal, and there was much rejoicing, at least on half of the planet that was watching this match. So here's what happened, and notice the noises in the background, courtesy of our friends at 92.9 The Game and the Odyssey app.
Almada coming down the near touchline, stopping 40 yards from goal, now colliding with Fortune, staying on it, into the central channel, past Peltola to the top of the arc, shot! Score! Golazo! Out of nowhere, the Mariana magician gives Atlanta United the 1-0 lead. What a golazo by Thiago Almada.
And yes, you do
Very
hear
out of position?
yeah, hey, why not? That's where the Children's
Okay.
Health Care of Atlanta training ground is.
I mean, it is.
You did notice, by the way, that Mike and Jason were kind of put in a corner, and they mentioned it on the broadcast. Their press box location had to look through basically 3 sets of windows. Is that they were all the way like far camera left 18 slash. And so for anything to happen to their right, they're having to look through 3 sets of plexi. I guess it's plexi at Audi Field, and trying to discern what in the wide world of sports is going on. So, yes, you heard Mike kind of sounding a little bit like this, but that's because he's right up against a wall and a closed window in a closed room. And so that's why it sounded like this when Mike was calling.
Sounded like Red Barber.
Thank you, folks. It was a fantastic game here in D.C.
For those of you that don't know, Red Barber was the voice of Brooklyn Dodgers baseball before Vin Scully, who was the voice of Brooklyn Dodgers baseball basically from the time the Magna Carta was created.
Yes. And Red Barber always would have an egg timer with him. And that would be his indicator to let everybody know what the score is. And that's every time he flips the egg timer. That's when you tell everybody what the score is. Lesson for you young folks when it comes to calling things on the medias these days. So it was 1-0, and Atlanta was hanging on to a lead, and it was you want to talk hanging on? You really want to talk hanging on? Brad Gazan kept it 1-0. Once again, courtesy of our friends at 92.9 The Game and the Odyssey app.
Here it comes from Click to the back post again. Header! Oh, no, it bounces wide to the far post off of Benteke.
No,
the flag comes up. The flag has come up.
Brad Gazan just made an insane save.
And, to say it was insane, it might be slighting insanity. But there have been moments this season where the polar bear has come up big and bigger than big and larger than large. And this one was insane, where it goes through like 3 people and Brad makes the save to keep it 1-0. And it was 115 yards basically from where Mike and Jason were all the way down to the far right-hand side of what was going on. So Brad kept it clean sheeted 1-0. And at the end of the match, Jarrett, you had Luke Brennan, Jay Fortune, Caleb Wiley, Efren Morales, and Noah Cobb all on the pitch for Atlanta United. All youngins, all through the system for Atlanta United to close that match up against DC.
And the guy I want to give shout to at the very end is Derek Williams, who on this weird bouncing ball through the box that Benteke is getting on the end of, Derek Williams throws his big thigh in the way and blocks what would have been a shot on target. Don't know if Brad would have gotten to it. We'll never know. But Derek Williams throws himself in the way, creates that block at the very end that kind of snuffs out the final hope for DC. It's good to see the kids out there, but I think my favorite thing about it is you got the kids out there, but the kids play with an edge to them. Mm-hmm. Efrain Morales tried to kill DiPietro at one point. He just kind of like it looked like a flying shoulder, where he's trying to dive and get his head to the ball first, but he ends up connecting with DiPietro too, and like hits him with a flying shoulder coming off the ropes. Yeah, I mean, Efra plays with an edge. He always has, probably always will. He's got combat ball in his blood, and it comes across. He controls it well. If you ever talk to him, he's very mild-mannered, good kid, lovely to talk to. But they all play with an edge. I know it's been the talking point up until this game that like Luke Brennan came in and did all these things and was aggressive and great, and that's what we need. Jay Fortune doesn't talk a lot, but Jay Fortune, go back to the Charlotte game, came in and just decided to try and make things happen, and was very good about it. Noah Cobb showed you, I think he can be more of a vocal leader, especially in that behind-the-scenes clip, which for some ungodly reason, credit to him, where he's the one speaking up in the locker room. It shouldn't have to be him. It should be others. But you've got some guys who are showing those edges to them or leadership moments to them, which is great for the academy. It's good that you are not only developing players, but developing guys who can fit an archetype, be it a guy who is a quiet, maybe more quiet, but can show and lead by example, or someone who can be that verbal leader.
And after the match, as Jared has been reading the rundown, Jason caught up with Efra, and so here is that post-match interview, once again courtesy of our friends at 92.9 The Game and the Odyssey app. Jason and Efrain Morales after the win in D.C.
The Atlanta United locker room with Efrain Morales. Efrain, it was a really combative night tonight. You had a lot to do with Benteke and keeping him off the board. Tell me about the fight in this match tonight.
Yeah, obviously that was kind of the game plan going into it. I knew the task was to kind of keep Benteke from winning those aerial duels. Everyone knows how good he is at that. And it was a tough task, but I think we managed to deal with it pretty well.
It also felt like in this game where it's super physical and you've got tackles flying in both ways, you kind of raised that physicality from the Atlanta side multiple times. You had a big challenge on Coup de Pietro in the first half. How important was it for you guys to stand your ground and maybe make a little bit of a statement physically?
Yeah, to be honest, I think that's a type of game that I love. I've always been pretty physical and aggressive, and I think I can definitely help the team in that sense. And yeah, obviously you saw it was a pretty scrappy game, but I think it was good from both sides. It's a good aggressive game that I like to see.
I think it's a pretty big statement that tonight you get a clean sheet on the road with 3 homegrowns in that back 5. You know, you guys have all come up and been through a lot. How does that mean something extra to you?
Yeah, obviously we talked a little bit about it going into the game. Obviously kind of looking at my left and looking at my right, seeing guys that I've played with since I was 11, 12 years old. It's really special, and I think everyone played really well tonight. I mean, obviously there's a lot of stuff we can keep on improving, but obviously it's good that we can all do it together.
And you finished the game with Jay and Luke on the field as well. The health of this feels really good. You guys have been through a lot this season that maybe some of you have experienced, some of you haven't. You know, how do you feel the locker room gets a boost out of this one tonight?
Yeah, obviously getting a win on the road is huge, which obviously we've struggled with in the past few months, and I would say last year. But I mean, you know, everything's a learning curve for me. Being new to the team, new to the MLS, it's all good for me, and I'm just trying to soak it all in and learn and keep going.
Excellent. We'll see you in St. Louis.
Thank you.
Efrain Morales and Jason after the match. And yeah, I mean, Jarrett, we've seen all of these young players come through the system. I mean, we've talked about it with Efra in the past, where literally Efra had to grow into his body, and you have the literal growing pains that are associated with turning into someone who might be 5'9", 5'10", and then finishing up at 6'4". And now that you have Efra, who is not afraid to do the Goldberg shoulder tackle on folks, and maybe just leave your feet a little bit, and you get that kind of physicality. You have the physicality that we're seeing with Efrain Morales, that little touch of nasty that's there. Noah Cobb not afraid to do the same thing. Noah Cobb being very vocal. Jay being the silent assassin in the midfield. Luke Brennan, who is driving people crazy, running 900 miles an hour, and it's like playing Cannonball Run, and he's a Ferrari. And then you've got Caleb Wiley on the left-hand side, who's causing his own kind of havoc that is attached to what he can do, being as multitasking and multi-talented as he is, and getting all of these first-team reps. You're combining them with the experience of a Dax McCarty. You're combining it with the artistry of the Marietta Madman and the Marietta Magician, as Mike calls it, Thiago Almada. There's a lot of interesting pieces that are blending together here. And when half of the field players, taking Brad out of the equation, half the field players to finish are academy kids, it speaks a lot about what you've been building over these years at center back U, and the pieces that are now being added on the wings are part of the discussion.
Yeah, it's going to keep developing. It's going to keep growing. And they're going to continue to add more of these kids in there. It's going to be fun to watch.
It's a shame we didn't get to see Matias Gajardo running around and taking folks.
I warned people about that, to be fair.
Matthew Edwards and Matias Gajardo, who were called up And we talked about how the rules are silly involving call-ups and so on. But we give them today to think about what's going on with the win, and they are now north of the playoff bar. And once again, the chase in the Eastern Conference continues to be crazier than ish. And we'll get into all of the other results with Niko coming up at 10:30. Here's the rundown. We have the bat signal out for a little bit of a Copa preview tonight. It is officially sold out. We got the notification yesterday in Atlanta at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Argentina and Canada, 70,000 plus, sold out. And tickets are a fair poke if you want to get them on the secondary market. So we have the bat signal out in the 9:30 half hour, and we'll see if it does, in fact, get answered by longtime friend of yours truly. And we'd be going way into the Wayback Machine if this individual can make it out of meetings to drop by for a drive-through. 10 o'clock, this one's going to be fun. Nino Torres from Gold TV. And for those of you that might be watching Gold TV through our relationship with Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. Nino's one of the voices that you hear on Gold TV, and he takes no ish when it comes to the play on the field. We're bringing Nino in on Thursdays to break down the Copa for as long as the tournament's going on and as long as Nino wants to put up with us. And he'll be in the 10 o'clock half hour, and then Niko Moreno coming in at 10:30 to close things out, or 10:35, and we go to the last half hour of the show with Niko. So it's Nino and Niko. Jarrett, how long do you think it's going to take for me to confuse the two and screw that up?
Frankly, I'm surprised it hasn't happened already.
I know. So we are a stacked show. When you look at what else happened last night in Major League Soccer, I know that you were focused. We were all focused on Atlanta United. By the way, sidebar. Thanks to everybody who showed up at Lee and White last night for the pre-Copa celebration for Argentina. It was great to see everybody show in their Albiceleste jerseys and watch Muchachos, the documentary, and it was great to see the crowd. Scott Flood and the consular general of Argentina did great work. Mario Kempes was there yesterday signing Argentina jerseys as a part of it too. So you had a lot of folks who were sitting there looking at their jerseys that had Kempes 10 on them. So it was very, very cool that Mario Kempes came by. Great work by Scott Flood and the consular general of Argentina. Please proceed, Jared. I jumped on you.
No, it's I'm surprised you haven't gotten it mixed up yet. That's okay though. No, go ahead. That was all I was going to say.
No, so what else stuck in your mind from Major League Soccer last night, considering that there were plenty of MLS matches and Atlanta United's 1-0 win was one of them? It's like the goals waited for a while. I mean, Philly and Cincinnati, that one was insane. And the goals were like it's like the 7:30s and the 7:45. The 7:30 matches didn't have goals. Starting at 7:45, you did, and then all hell broke loose.
Yeah, that's pretty much what happened. Because you had Cincinnati and Philadelphia were completely unhinged. I'm still trying to figure out what Jonathan Tannenwald wants out of the Philadelphia-Cincinnati rivalry because he seems to be stoking that fire.
Yeah.
Like, Philadelphia's going to, we've been over this before, Philadelphia's going to actually have to spend money at some point.
No.
Because Julian Carranza's gone. You're missing a couple of your other key guys who were at the Euros, but they haven't been like Gazdag has become the PK guy, which is great. Again, we've been over this before. Penalties are hard.
Yeah.
Penalties at the top level are very difficult. There's a reason not everyone takes them. Josie Altidore was one of the better strikers in American history. Josie Altidore couldn't hit a pole in the ass with a bass fiddle from the spot, but they're going to actually have to spend money. That game was hilarious though because it ends up 4-3 in the with the Luciano Acosta winner in the 100th minute.
Yeah.
Yay.
Oh man. Well, and Rich is in this morning. He says he's serious. What does it take to get a manager fired?
More than you have been going through. Although losing to 9-man Miami was a good start, Rich. If you want to start going down that road.
Yeah.
Rich and I have talked about this in the past about Philadelphia trusting some of the younger guys to come in and do the job, just because some of the old guard that were part of that it's weird to call it a dynasty because all they want is a supporters shield, but it's the Philly dynasty because they won a supporters shield. They were the most terrifying team for 3 years. Don't forget, Philadelphia, I think, wins. Oh, God, I'm gonna cause rise. I might cause fights with this. Philadelphia wins, in my opinion. Philadelphia wins the 2020 MLS Cup if they don't have like 11 people out with COVID protocol when they go play NYC, because they played NYC in those playoffs, missing a ton of people, and still almost beat them. And NYC like limped through that game, ends up winning the cup against Portland. I still think Philadelphia wins it that year. Otherwise, the LAFC one is weird. Then like last year, like was the year to run it back. Yeah, they got to figure. They gotta spend. They gotta figure something out, man. Since Cincinnati's basically like right now is a younger, I think more dynamic version of Philadelphia.
Okay. Well, I mean, it is Philly light.
Yeah. They're not as combative and not as heel as Philadelphia is in their mannerisms and their coach, and like it's not as Philly is, which I don't know if anybody can be as Philly is.
Well, Miles Robinson's going down that road.
Frankly, Miles needs it. Miles Robinson is one of the most talented center backs we've ever had, but Miles needed someone to develop an edge, help him develop an edge, man. Like he needed to get a little more like gritty.
Yeah.
And yeah, Rich, I agree. He booked the flight to Portland for the final. That's how definite it was. They were the best team in 2020 for my money. And I understand why you had the protocols.
Yeah.
But man, like, and NYC did the job. NYC went and, played Portland, beat them in the shootout and all that. We got to see Ronnie Dyla get naked.
Whoa!
It was funny. Oh yeah, what he does every time Ronnie Dyla wins the title, he strips down. It's
I'm aware of this, but I don't need the resurrection of the memory, son.
But man, 2020 Philadelphia was 2020 Philadelphia was like the pinnacle of it for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, that game was absolutely bonkers. Like the entire. That's why I tweeted about Kevin Egan needing a granola bar and a bottle of water last night, because there's a stretch where MLS 360 is just jumping like goal to goal to goal to goal around the country, because it was merciless.
Yeah, but those are the nights that those of us who anchor in those situations were like, hit me. You had Montreal and Red Bulls. So Montreal had a 2-0 lead, lost it, drew it 2. Nashville came back to beat Toronto FC. I wonder what John Herdman said about that particular match, considering the last one he said it was the worst one that his players had been in, that he had coached in 30 years of coaching.
He's fine. They got overshadowed by Drake getting buried alive by Kendrick Lamar last night, so he's fine.
That is absolutely true. We talked about Cincy and Philly. Austin had a lead, couldn't hold it against LAFC. Dallas and Minnesota. I did not have this one on the bingo card, going 8 goals strong at Toyota. 5-3 Dallas over Minnesota last night. You had Houston and Seattle. Go for it, Jared.
I say Minnesota was just bad.
Yeah.
They got 3 goals. The last one's a penalty, but Minnesota was just bad on the night, especially defensively. Like,
yeah.
It was Minnesota, and this is like, I know we do the thing where like we decide whether we do or don't like underlying numbers, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because the underlying numbers at the break, in the international break, I was looking at them at one point, was like Atlanta should have been above the playoff line based on like all the underlying numbers. I'm like, yeah, that's fine. The problem is Atlanta wasn't finishing easy or difficult chances. They weren't finishing, and they were failing themselves in key moments, which we've bludgeoned into oblivion. But they can get into spots, but they're not finishing, and then they're making bad mistakes. We know that. But Minnesota was below the line, and kind of feels like Minnesota was outperforming their metrics a bit. I think in MLS it's okay to do that. Now, obviously, like this varies by sport. Baseball is like the be-all, end-all of it, because over 162 games, you're going to get you're going to get things averaging out in a more consistent pattern than, say, the NFL over 16 games. Like, you can just outperform your ass for 16 games, and you're fine. like, okay, cool, yeah, we just like you kind of you don't necessarily have to wait for the other shoe to drop. MLS is that next step, and then then you get to like hockey and the NBA where you have 82 games, give or take.
Yep.
But in MLS, you can ride out performance for a long ass time. And God, hey, you want to start outperforming in like November? You're golden, man. If you can give me like a month of outperforming in November, you can make a run to the cup. We've seen teams do it. But it kind of, I wondered, it's like, man, it feels like Minnesota is kind of outperforming things. But yeah, last night was one of those where I'm like, oh, the chickens came home to roost for 90 minutes. That might not happen every week. They might go out this weekend and beat someone with a dead fish for 90 minutes. Doesn't mean it didn't come home to roost for 90 minutes last night, because that was ugly.
Yes, it was.
And ugly. Sporting Kansas City lost again.
That is also true. And with that one, 2-2 Houston, Seattle. We'll talk about that one with Niko coming up at 10:30 along with everybody else. RSL, Kansas City. RSL, and once again, taking the over was the play. You had RSL with a 1-0 lead. Afrifa scores to even it up at 1. Then Anderson Julio in the 33rd. Gomez again in the 51st. And that made it 3-1. Kansas City closed to 3-2 with Willie Agata with one of his two in the 70th. Crooks scores in the 84th to make it 4-2, and then Agata scores at 90 plus 5 to make it 4-3. I want to say it wasn't even really that close. Kansas City loses again.
No, it wasn't.
So Kansas City still hanging around the bottom of the table in the Western Conference. And speaking of hanging around the bottom of the table in the Western Conference, who had Georgi Mihailovic and hat trick on your card? I did not. I told
y'all, give Chris Armas time. I'm not ever going to guarantee that it'll work, that it'll ever be perfect. But give Chris Armas time to put something together in Colorado that's his own product.
Yeah.
And when I say give him time, give him this year and next year. Because for the first time in a long time, and some of you degenerates who have been around for a while will know this, Colorado has a game plan. You don't have to like it, but they actually have one, which is a step up for them from what they have been for years.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I'm very interested to see how people talk about the game this weekend for Atlanta. The city game, the St. Louis.
Yeah.
Because St. Louis, like, speaking of regression and talking about regression with Minnesota, like City SC has regressed year over year, man. Like that they have fallen the absolute hell off from that. Like, we're gonna win the West in our first year. Oh joy!
Pitcher got found out.
Yeah, man. Second time through the order, the exit velocity went from like 83 to like 105.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, they are also dealing with injuries. I think a couple guys are out on international.
Yeah, Pompeo is out. Strauss is Pompeo's gone for the year. Strauss is out for a while, and so yeah, those are key injuries in key spots. So yes.
So it's. I'm very curious how people will approach this game coming up for Atlanta United, because if you're thinking of St. Louis City as the team that they were last year, they're not. Not really. It's not the same team. They don't function at the same points per game as they did last year. Doesn't mean they're bad, but it doesn't mean that you are going into like the Dragons team here.
Right.
I think it's a game where you can absolutely get a point out of, and maybe more. Depends on how you want to finish your chances. Because you will be without Thiago Almada. He got a yellow card. Because last night was kind of a spin the wheel of, is this a yellow or is this not? Because there's a couple of cards in that game where, like, both ways, both teams. Couple guys got cards in that game where I was like, I don't know what a yellow is right now.
Yes, it's choose your own adventure yellow card with Pierre-Luc Lauzière. Yeah, we did the research during the match. Lazier is 52nd coming into the match last night. 52nd out of 56 center refs when it comes to fouls per match average, and middle of the pack when it came to yellows. But basically, when he was calling a foul, he was given a card. So it's like there is no build when it came to Pierre-Luc Lazier giving cards. It was like foul, card. And that's how it is. Okay, with real quick. So bat signal got answered. So go ahead.
Miami winning without any of their big guns is kind of big. Yeah, it was. Columbus was really sloppy at the back. That helped contribute to it. I
would run the bat signal here, but I don't have the bat signal drop. So the beauty of the green room is I can see folks. And this is the magic of what happens when you go and pick up your Copa America credential. This is what happens. You run into folks that you haven't seen in a long time except viewing them through monitors. It's like, hey, I know that guy. And so I tapped him on the shoulder and I said, you realize, of course, this means I'm probably going to ask you on the morning show. And sure enough, he's answered the call. He's in between meetings, and we're going to talk some Canadian Men's National League stuff, Canadian Men's National Team stuff. KJ, if I could get it out of my upper plate, I'd be okay.
You did it. You got it. You got there. You got there, mate.
Oh, Christian Jack, who's with One Soccer, the Canadian Premier League, dropping by. It's me and Jarrett Smith here on the morning show. How's Atlanta been for you, my friend?
Atlanta is always what it is to me. I'm sure you know this, but huge Braves fan. Got my start in media as an intern in 1996 in CNN as a World Sport intern. So as a fresh 17-year-old kid from the UK, so it's always a special place to come to this wonderful city. And it was a great surprise to see you. And again, thanks for the invite to talk some Canada football / soccer, which is pretty rare in a Copa America, let's just say.
No doubt about it. And we go back to our time at King Street when they decided to have a dude in the United States sit there and do stuff for them and knock on their door and drive them crazy. But no, it's good to catch up with KJ. We're going to talk Canada here for a bit. What has it been like having Jesse Marsch in charge, where I have seen headlines and the idea that Jesse wants the Canadian men's national team to be, quote unquote, less Canadian, to have a bit of an edge, to be a little chippy, not be so nice? What has it been like so far with this very small sample size in the calendar?
Yeah, it's been really refreshing, actually. What I like about Jesse is his authenticity. And I think more importantly, that's what the players enjoy. I can give you my reflections on covering him for the last few weeks. And, talking to the players, they know where they stand. There's no, he left that room there. And what did he really mean by that? He's very clear. He's very concise. He can be very direct in a way. He has a very clear identity about what he believes is the right path to success. I think we're going to see a bit of a brave and bold, and maybe if the result goes the wrong way, people may call naive Canada tonight, but they're going to go after them, I think, and a bit aggressive and press. And we know what Jesse likes to do with his athleticism in the team. And he's certainly blessed with speed, right? That's what Canada has with this team, right? So Jesse's looked at his team and he's thought, when you've got Jonathan David and Alphonso Davies and you've got the pace of Tejan Buchanan, this is a team he could work with. So, but to answer your question again from the start, Marsch, I think he's been, he's taken Canadian football quotes at a different level a little bit, but I don't think he's ever made it about himself. And I think the players have understood that and respected that as well.
Jarrett Smith for Christian Jack.
Actually, I want to ask about a bit about that in this next evolution for Canada, because you go from the John Herdman era and just the raw excitement of winning the Octagon, getting to the World Cup, and then building on this. I mean, how has the excitement built for just the people around Canada, the fans, even young players who might be in the pool going forward to be a part of this evolved project?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. We're certainly in that process where it's progressing, right? Like as John knows, he and I go way back. I've lived in that wonderful country now for 22 plus years. And when I first arrived in Canada, coming from England, you get one Premier League game on television for the week. We had no professional league, no MLS teams in Canada. There's nothing, right? So then you get the evolution of Toronto FC and Montreal Impact, Vancouver Whitecaps, and now, you know, the men's national team have getting a little bit better. Then the women's national team have done very well with World Cups, and then they win the gold medal in the Olympics. The men's team get to the World Cup. The Canadian Premier League is 6 years old. So it's all developing as we go forward. But to answer your question about the awareness, Canada has a peculiar sports culture, and in a sense that we understand that these events are certainly going to bring the awareness a bit bigger than they would be if they were playing friendlies last week against France and the Dutch, for example. The World Cup got tremendous numbers, but they dwindled as they went out the tournament. By the second game, the third game against Morocco wasn't as popular. But now when they play teams like this, they played Mbappe last week, they play Messi tonight, people are paying attention to it. And with Canada now, they understand that when they've got players like Davies and David and these players playing in Europe, the European fans in the multicultural, you know, melting pot that Canada has, have respected this national team more. Oh, it's not just a bunch of players who are playing in North America. So they've got the kind of, you know, the purists over on board as well. And now, you know, it's the attention has definitely turned to them as a belief that they're starting to belong. Now, the World Cup, the qualification for the World Cup, the way that they won that was certainly a great start, but now the pressure is on for them to build on that, because the last couple of years, and it has been 2 years since they won their World Cup qualifying process, hasn't gone well. They haven't played well. They didn't perform as well as they wanted at the World Cup. They got knocked out in Nations League. They didn't get to the Final Four. They lost in the Nations League final prior to that to the US. And so there's a sense now that they can start to move forward and certainly start to make a big difference as they get ready to host the World Cup in 2 years.
So then what is the expectation for this particular tournament? I would understand that, you know, I'm sure there are some folks that would sit there and say, yeah, we're happy to be here. I know that Jesse isn't wired that way. So then what is the expectation in this tournament to take some teeth out on your way out the door? What's the anticipation?
Yeah, I think we break it into three, right? I think, well, first of all, whenever we talk about expectation, I think Jesse Marsch moves the goalposts a little bit towards 2026 for a reason. He understands that everything is building towards 2026. Now, there's going to be, you know, significant milestones of judgment along the way. This is one. Okay, so how are they going to perform in Copa America with Argentina first, then Peru and Chile? Look, if they lose all three games and they don't play well, that's not going to be good. But on the other side of it is that if they don't play the way that they want to do and they go out, then there's pressures on for the next tournament. I don't think people expect Canada to progress from this group. It would be a nice bonus, but I don't think they expect them to lose all three either. So this game tonight is a bonus in a way. They're playing the holders, they're playing the World Cup champions, and they want to see how they play, what the identity is. And then they certainly want them to see what they can do against Peru and Kansas City on Tuesday. And then they'll hope to get something from Chile. So, but then it's, okay, friendlies in September, then it's Nations League. How are they going to progress through? Then it's Gold Cup next year. But ultimately, it's the Jesse Marsch era, if it is only during the 2 years that he signed for, will be defined by what he does in the World Cup on home soil.
Christian Jack hanging out with us for another couple of minutes because I've yanked him out of meetings.
Oh, good, pal. I'm good for a couple of 10 minutes or so. If you need.
That's what I think. We'll go 10 because I don't want you to get a tardy slip from the principal, and I don't want you to get in any kind of trouble. So then let me ask you this: when it comes to this roster, we all know the big guns, we all know the big names. Who are you most looking forward to see grow and evolve as a player under Jesse Marsch that folks may not have in their TV spot shadow when the game starts under normal circumstances?
I mean, for me, it's Ishmael Kone, 21 years old, playing in midfield, played professional football for 2 years. 2 years ago, he makes his debut for Montreal Impact in February 2022 in the CONCACAF Champions League and scores a goal against Santos Laguna. Within a year, he's playing with Watford in the Championship in England, and then goes through 4 different managers. We all know Watford like to change managers, like we change our socks.
Yeah.
And so then,
have you watched your Watford stock yet? By the way,
no, I have not actually. But my cousin is a big Watford fan. They're season ticket holders. But he's developed in a ruthless league. No, Championship is ruthless. It's the place to go if you want to be playing regular football. Played 42 games this year, and they play 46 league games. Right, they're playing Wednesday weekend, Tuesday weekend. So. And I had a great chance to chat with him this week. And he's very mature, and he understands what it takes to genuinely want to get to the top. Players all the time talk about wanting to get there. He understands what it takes to get there, and he loves every moment of the journey, every training session, the ability to, and on the field, John, like he just oozes control. You know, he's one of those players, you see them sometimes, there's just a flow about them, about how they move. And he's got a big presence on him. He's difficult to shrug off the ball in midfield. He can be a very good dynamic central midfielder. He played extremely well against the French last week, and French media are talking about him. I don't know how long it's going to be, but he's going to get it in the move out of Watford within the next 12 to 18 months. It might be even shorter than that. And so for me, Canada in that position with Steph Eustáquio from Porto and Kone in midfield, I think Kone is the one to keep an eye on in this tournament.
What has it been like for you to see the roster adjust to how Jesse Marsch wants to play? I know that you look at how John Herdman wants to play. It's one thing. Jesse Marsch, I know that they'll sit there and look at the bright lights and go, okay, so it's Bielsa with a twist, and it's pressing, and it's this, and it's that. What's it been like for you to see the players adjust to how Jesse Marsch wants to do things?
Yeah, it's a good question. So we had the first game against the Netherlands, and they came out and they did all of that. They were aggressive, and they were, dynamic. And for 45 minutes, they pushed the Dutch back further and further, and went, okay, this is good. But at 0-0 at halftime, you had a sense that the Dutch were, they were starting to change to the tactics and understand what they were doing. They were almost baiting Canada to press and then going long with the goalkeeper. And within the second half, Canada, as the physicality got tired and weighed off a little bit, the Dutch exploited them and won 4-0. So at that point, Canadian national team fans everywhere are just furious. I don't know if you know this, John, but on social media sometimes it gets a little bit just a little bit out of control.
Hyperbolic? What?
Yeah, exactly.
Never.
So they were a little bit, they can't play this way. They're not going to do this. And so, and then they played the French, literally the world's number 2 team, 3 days later. And they changed a little bit. There was a bit of an adaptation from it. They didn't necessarily play the attacking, pressing style. It sat a little bit deeper, but they were intelligent. They knew when to go, and they pressed together. So I think there's an understanding that it's fascinating to hear Jesse Marsch tell his team that he needs them to be more dynamic and fitter, when in theory, the international game is slower than the club game. So you don't hear many international managers request from players, I need you to be fitter, I need you to run more and do this. So I think it's clear that he understands that he has an idea about where he wants the team to be in 2026, how he wants them to play, and how he wants them to press. And he may be able to do that in summer windows, because the team, even though they played a lot of games, those players will be able to go, okay, let's go. But he's not going to be able to do that in shorter windows. Like, he's had a long window here for this tournament. But if you think about the international game, you might get players in on a Thursday. They may play Saturday. You're not going to have a lot of time at that point to really bring in your own identity and get them to the levels of fitness. So I think he's going to have to adapt as he goes on, and he's not going to have to be able to play the same way every single time.
Because you're cramming for a test, basically. You have your team and your team philosophies, and okay, my team manager wants me to do this, and then you come dropping into your national team milieu, for lack of a better phrase, and you got to change your way of thinking. You got to change how you're reacting. You got to change. It's almost whiplash for these players to go from their team construct to the national team construct.
Correct. Absolutely. And I think that's the beauty of international management, and the big challenge now is that you never know what you're going to receive when they come in. I've said this for a while about this team. There are some players who need to be arriving at a peak level from their club form in order for them to perform for the international level. And there are others who are just like, oh, he's not been playing well. They're fine. They just go into it's a different environment and they're away. So I think you always got to adapt and understand that what you're going to receive. And I think the biggest thing for Jesse, and he told me this week when I sat down with him for an interview, is that, how is he going to connect with them emotionally? Because he's very passionate. He's a very passionate individual who is, I think, very self-aware and understands the ability to what he wants to get out of these people. And he told me, as a club manager, he's going to miss them. He's going to miss them. He's going to find it hard to say bye to these guys, and then wait until he gets to play. He gets to manage them again in September. So how is he going to connect with them when they get back? What's he going to do in the meantime, in between? And I think that's going to be an adjustment for somebody who's used to the day-to-day relationship building that he's got with these players, and now he's only going to get them for short windows.
Can we talk about how he was attracted to the gig briefly?
Yeah.
In the United States, as you well know, with U.S. sports, you can't turn without any kind of a corporate sponsorship. It's like and in our business, the so-and-so pregame show brought to you by Zellers or brought to you by Tim Hortons or whatever.
Yeah.
The cooperation of the Major League Soccer franchises has created enough revenue to bring in Jesse, and I imagine his staff. That was not a part of the release, but you've got a corporate sponsorship in effect from the Major League Soccer franchises to bring in Jesse for this gig. It was a very unique way of going about things. Knowing the difficulties right now with Canada soccer on the whole, what was the fan response to A, bringing in Jesse, and then B, attaching the corporate sponsorship and the aid to it to bring him in?
Well, I think it depends on the level of fan. And, I've just been speaking to a few of them in my hotel here. And I think the genuine, passionate, hardcore fan who travels with the team, and I think they had genuine questions. A lot of them may be season ticket holders for those three clubs. And they're wondering, is this coming out of, where's this coming out of? Is this coming out of our salary budget? Is this why am I paying more money for tickets? And then, there's obviously the philanthropy area of that where it didn't necessarily affect that. And then there's the other level of fan who some just don't care about that stuff. They just don't. They just want to know, like, are you going to get results? And I think inside, the world of media, we can analyze it and talk about it all we like. And there's lots of areas where we're still trying to find questions about it. Like, what is it about these teams that were the incentive to give that money? What are they getting back in return? And we can ask those questions and certainly try and get those answers, even if sometimes we don't get direct answers. But it is a little inside baseball chat, right? When we're involved in that. And I think some fans are just like, okay, is he the best guy for the job? What will he do? Can he get us out of a World Cup group? Can we start to perform at the highest level? So there's a little bit of both, depending on where you're from.
Yeah. Then now we're at the 3-minute warning. We're going to play CFL rules here for your remaining time. I think a lot of folks may just sit there. They're just tired of what they saw in the past. And it's like, look, don't talk. Tell me about the birth. Just show me the baby.
Yeah.
And that to me would be part of where I'm looking at it. But those of us that are journalists that sit behind desks and things, it's like, okay, now we got to analyze the financials here. What's going on here? What's this and this and this? Fan support. You mentioned that. What has it been like to see fans come down here to Atlanta? How big is the effort for folks to come down here and see this here in the Copa? Because yesterday, Argentina fans shut down one of the main drags in downtown Atlanta, singing songs out in front of a Hooters. I mean, what's it been like to see the response with you guys?
I saw that, by the way. I'm literally around the corner from it, so it was pretty impressive to watch that. That was amazing. But Argentina, I mean, I was very blessed to spend 23 days in Qatar, and I went to see 27 games. And Argentina, by far, were the most entertaining fan bases that around. They're in the stadium hours before, they're still there in the seats until they get kicked out after. They're singing their songs, they're passionate, and they love it. And it's the flavor of football. And I think Canada tonight are obviously going to be incredibly outnumbered, right? They will be here. The Voyagers are here. The supporters group are here. They're having their own area where they're going to be. They're having a party beforehand. And they get to experience that. They get to feel what that's like. We in Canada can only dream of having a football culture like that. We're never going to get that. And I understand that. It's Argentina, and it's years of building, and the emotions and the families and the drive for that country. But look, Canada will be there. They'll show up and they'll get to experience what they can do. Watch Messi, get the feel, and get to play in that wonderful stadium that you guys all own here in Atlanta.
Cut the promo for me, because I know you've got to go to another meeting. Where can folks follow your conversations and see what's going on? I know that you're on the threads and the gram, or whatever the kids call it these days, but how can they see what's going on with KJ?
Yeah, I'm obviously very passionate about Canadian soccer. So I work at the Canadian Premier League, running all the media and content there. It's a brand new league. We've only been around 6 years, but we've got a great fan base already, going into different markets, 8 different teams. playing MLS teams consistently and beating them sometimes in Canadian championships, which is wonderful to see. You can also follow me on One Soccer, which is the channel in Canada where we do everything in terms of the Canadian men's national team, Canadian Premier League games as well. So just follow all One Soccer socials. I'm not that big on my own socials, but it's Christian Jack on Instagram is where I post all my stuff as well. And John, it's always a pleasure to chat with you. You keep up the great work, man, because in this continent, North America, I'm just so proud to see this wonderful sport continue to grow in these markets. And I'm a big fan of Atlanta United and what they're doing and what you guys are doing here as well. So anytime you want me on, I'm happy to chat.
Yep, you got golden ticket status, my friend, and it's always great to catch back up with you. I will see you at Mercedes-Benz tonight, and you got to talk to us American folks about how we can subscribe to One Soccer and not get things geo-blocked and watch things all the time.
Sounds good.
Go to your meeting, my friend. We'll see you tonight.
Yeah, God bless. Take care. See you.
All right, that's Christian Jack. KJ, like I said, KJ and I have known each other for about 20 years from my time back in Canadian television, and so it's really fun to be able to run into folks and sit there and go, oh, it's Christian Jack. And so I literally beat him over the head, and it's like, dude, I need to have you on the show. And so it's great to have him on to talk about the Canadian men's national team for about 20 minutes. And apparently there's a tailgate that's starting at 10 a.m. as well. It should. Good work. Absolutely. Hey, man, it's a match day. Fantastic. Coming up in about 4 minutes, Nino Torres from Gold TV, and we will discuss everything Copa with him. And it's going to be fun to get his perspective on things and find out how he's viewing the tournament. And his views are not chalk. His views are not chalk. And it will be interesting to find out from his perspective what he's looking at when it comes to the tournament and who he's chasing after and who he's going to have in his spot shadow and, stars and all this kind of stuff. Yes, it'll be great to see Messi and Argentina and all that kind of stuff. But like I said, he's not looking at chalk to come out of this tournament. He's not looking at the big names and the big stars. So very, very cool to have him on. And then obviously the final half hour, it's going to be Niko Moreno joining us, and we'll talk about everything Major League Soccer and find out what's on his mind. But once again, we got tailgates all over the place. And by the way, you have the new episode of the Soccer for US POD. Bart has been very, very busy, and Bart is letting us know that there's a new episode of the Soccer for US POD, episode 88, and that's going to be up later this morning. And he'll break everything down heading into the Copa and everything else on his mind. So keep an eye out on the network for the new Soccer for US POD with Bart and everybody. So Katie Weaver wants to know about other events. There's one at Wild Leap, not going to the match, just wants to hop on MARTA and just hang downtown. Events at Wild Leap. So help her out. I think I'm going to end up taking MARTA myself. So it's going to be fun. 70,000 of you hanging out tonight with Argentina and Canada. And I saw ticket prices last night in the mid 300s for just one ticket in the 100 section, like row 15-ish. I was talking to folks. Okay, so La Dose in the supporters group lot. La Dose has a big party planned. Okay, so keep that talk amongst everybody here to let everybody know what's going on. It was very, very, like I said, it was really cool to see how the city is responding to all of this. Once again, you can't go up to Kennesaw, and I'm glad. Yeah, some of the prices for tonight are nuts. I was talking to folks. I said, maybe wait until just after kickoff. Then the prices will drop, and then you can get in. If you can deal without the pomp and the circumstance and the concert that starts at 7 o'clock and like 8:05, 8:10, then you got to wander in and sit there and go, yeah, okay, match has already started, and I think I'm cool. Maybe wait until after the match starts and then go in. I know you'll hear cheering and everything. I want to hear just how it's identified. Is it Atlanta Stadium? We're in Atlanta, Georgia. You just leave the name of the stadium out. And I think that you have to, if you're outside the stadium, I don't think that Mercedes-Benz is a sponsor, so you're going to have to choose your close-up shots wisely. I think that that's one reason that why one of the facades at Mercedes-Benz just has kind of like it's not even cars. It's just like it's like a snowy background. It's like you're looking at the frost on a windshield. I think that might be the side that folks sit there and look at, and they'll go, that's your cover shot of the stadium in Atlanta. So that's what I'm looking. I want to see the TV presentation, and I want to see how things are identified, and I want to see how it all rolls out, and I want to see the TV presentation tonight. But yeah, so my guess is I'm probably going to be, I'll probably be taking Marta down myself because of the whole parking thing. Because we all know what it's like when 70,000 folks are in Mercedes-Benz for an Atlanta United match, plus all the foot traffic, plus all the FOMO, all of those kinds of things. All of that. Group C looks like they're heading out for the second half. I don't think there were any goals scored, but so we'll see what's going on there in the Euros here. Group C, we got the 3 matches, the 9, the noon, and the 3. We'll go over the odds and everything else before we get out of here this morning. So really looking forward to this on a bunch of different fronts. And so we'll see what it looks like when it comes to everything, breaking down all of the stuff in the world of soccer. So very, very cool that all of this is out here today. And like I said, I'm just checking to make sure that everything is the way that it should be. Let me go back and say hi to folks because I didn't get the chance to do that because literally we flew into the show this morning. And yeah, Marta is smarta. Okay, so thank you, Tom. No goals yet. Because like I said, I'm focusing on catching up with folks. Morning, D. Graham. Morning, Alex. Morning, Michael. Yes, Tiago Almada. That is all. Andy King up at 6 o'clock in the morning watching the early part of the show. Yeah, so who, if Serbia decides to go away for match day 3, who do we bring in? That's the big question. So once again, Michael's looking for the Faroe Islands. Alex is for Qatar. You know that FIFA dig that. Ricky, the Marietta Magician. Yes, absolutely true. Morning, Alex. Morning, Jason. Nick's good to have you in this morning. Yes, Red Barber. That's your Wikipedia assignment, Emilio. Yes, Red Barber. And the egg timer to let everybody know what the score is at the venue that he's at involving his Brooklyn Dodgers. Yes, word on Brad is that he is indeed big balled in an MFing wall after what happened last night. 2.7 XG for DC, but there was a lot of plays last night that they just completely and totally whiffed. Absolutely just whiffed. Absolutely did. Derek got stomped on. Actually, Derek, I think, got body checked by Benteke on one play. Derek went up for a header, and Benteke kind of low bridged him in the ribs. I remember that play, and then he lost his shoe in the process coming down. Of course, I think a lot of folks lost a lot of things when it came to their shoes and such. Alex, yes, Efra was very decisive when he went in on his tackles. Hutch, absolutely true. That yes, 2 objects can in fact occupy the same space for a nanosecond. And yes, and Bart, turf is evil and sandfield, divoted grass is safer. Absolutely true. Alex, important takeaway is that you can't be a mean team. You just have to win ugly, pretty, physical, or just plain lucky, but win. Yes, it is soccer all day. Nick's going with the Al Davis just win, baby setup. Morning, Hutch. Nick's, the robot's eyes closed because he got poked in the eye by a Raider from the 80s, by the way. Tom, Omada can stay a bit if he keeps that up. And yes, Nick's, nothing more Atlanta than Argentina fans flooding the streets in front of the Hooters chanting. Yeah, I know that when I saw the video of them going down the street and then you see the camera, pan to the right and you see the Hooters, I'm like, yep, that's about as Atlanta as it gets. Absolutely is about as Atlanta as it gets. Not a surprise. Let's see. Rich wondering about his manager. Yeah, since he was insane last night. Bart, in the conversation with Tom, talking about the studies of grass versus turf, but that surfaced last night in D.C. Proud of your D.C. defenders of the UFL. No doubt about it. Yeah, giveaway that led to that 100th minute goal, absolutely bad. And Knicks has 5 Ds that are associated with it. Let's see. Morning, Hutch. Yes, Soccer for Good OG says she took the over on the Twitch pitch bet the prop bet, I imagine for goals of the week, I think I had like 111 for mine. And yeah, there was Tom mentions MLS 360, and MLS 360 for me is something where I watch Kevin and I watch Kalen and BWP and Sasha Kleshton, and you see Gio Savarese come in. I've come to the conclusion that I need to send Kevin something akin to a Vuvuzela and make sure that that Kevin, has something that he can sit there, and he needs like a horn or some kind of a transitional element instead of them all four going, "Yeah, I gotta go." I wanted to send him like a Vuvuzela or something, and that way they can have that kind of a transitional element instead of just yelling, "Oh, we gotta go to we gotta go someplace." So Nick's is so I'm debating mailing Kevin like a Vuvuzela or something, or like a foghorn or a whistle or something. St. Louis folding like a cheap shirt. Like I said, they got injuries. They're not very good. Not very good right now. And when you don't have Strauss, you don't have Pompeu, and you're dinged up, it's another opportunity for Atlanta. Tomorrow we'll look at the lineup and the minutes that people played last night, see how it translates over into what could happen on the weekend. And then you get some time to kind of rest up before you've got Toronto coming in on the 29th. And then all hell breaks loose again because you've got to hit the road for New England. Then you're traveling to RSL. Then you've got Open Cup with Indy 11 at the Fraction on the Tuesday. And then you're going to Montreal. This is horrendous. Schedule maker. I know that you've got to be away for the Copa, but still. Schedule maker. Schedule maker. Legitimately. Hello, schedule maker.
Penny.
Sheldon.
I mean, that's seriously. What schedule maker put this together? This is what I'm saying. Rich, summer weekday games in MLS are always the best, but no one notices because it's on a Wednesday. Absolutely crazy. Ricky says there was a good article in Front Office Sports about how the debate about the grass and the turf will be rehashed. But yeah, well, and there was the quote that was put out by Scaloni. And Scaloni said that they were going to give the grass another day, and hopefully it'll be be better for the good of the game. So we'll see what the grass surface looks like for the Copa tonight, since it was like almost instantaneously started to be replaced after the Atlanta United match with Houston. And so late night Saturday and Sunday was when everything started in transition. So we'll see how it looks. Michael Valverde, Miami winning without any of the big guns is kind of big. Yeah, I mean, right now, looking at the standings, like I said, we'll get into this more with Niko Moreno coming up in about 20 minutes. And looking at the standings right now, Miami's played 20 matches. 41 points, 2 points clear of Cincinnati. Then you got a big gap. Big gap for the Pie Plate at 3 and 4. Red Bulls with the draw, they're at 31. NYC, 29 points, one more win and holding goal difference over Charlotte. Columbus at 27 points, but they still have 2, 3, or 4 matches in hand because of the Triple C. They're at 27 points. Toronto is 7th at 24. Nashville's at 23. Atlanta's at 20. One more win than Philadelphia. Philadelphia has scored more goals, but Atlanta once again has one more win right now. They are at 20 points. And we mentioned all the madness involving 2, 4, 6, 7 teams separated by 4 points. Atlanta and Philly with 20. DC's at 19. Same amount of wins as Montreal, better points per match average, and better goal difference. Chicago Fire's at 18 points in 18 matches. Orlando, 18 points in 18 matches. Identical records with Chicago. Chicago is 1 goal better in goal difference. And then New England is at 16 points in 16 matches at 5-10-1. Remember, they had their early run with Leagues Cup. Not Leagues Cup, the Triple C. 15 goals in 16 matches. In the West, once again, Salt Lake at 37 points, 10 wins, one more match played than LAFC at 34. LAFC has one more win than LAG. How's that for an interesting city battle? Then another gap to 4. Minnesota, with their loss last night, they're at 29. Colorado's at 28. Vancouver at 25. Portland, 24. They have played one more match than Houston. Same number of wins, 1 goal better in goal difference. Austin, same number of wins as Portland and Houston, but they have the worst goal difference, which puts them in 9th. Seattle's in 10th at 22. Dallas, and this is the other part in this. With Atlanta and Open Cup right now, you get past Indy 11, who are a good team. Do not misunderstand. Indy 11 is a very good team. You get the winner of Sporting and Dallas. Dallas at 5-8-5 fired their manager. Kansas City, 19 matches, 14 points, 3-11-5. You can have that. You can get that win. St. Louis, by the way, is at 18 points in 18 matches. They're in 12th. You can get that win and get into the Open Cup final. And I still think everything goes through Sacramento. I don't care if it's LAFC. I think that Sacramento wins in the round of 8. They probably play LAFC in the Final Four in the West. And like I said, I still think that it's Sacramento. San Jose's last in the West, 11 points in 18 matches. 45 goals allowed. 45 goals allowed. The worst defenses, by the way, Kansas City and San Jose. Looking at goals allowed, then you get Montreal with 37 goals allowed. They're third, but still, the only 2 teams so far that have given up over 40 goals this year, Kansas City's given up 40. San Jose's given up 45. So that's what you're staring at. I think Atlanta United has a good shot at getting into the Open Cup final. And remember, you win the Open Cup, you get into the Triple C. And you get that going in with all the momentum that you have with everything and what you're looking at this year. So once again, bat signals out for Nino Torres, and it wouldn't surprise me if there's something involving time changes and things like that. And then Niko Moreno joining us at 10:30, 10:35 for the final half hour of the show, and we will discuss stuff. That's the official term. What else is going on this morning? Obviously, 55th minute, Slovenia, Serbia, they are still goalless. And trying not to do play-by-play, but just had a set piece go inside the 18. So that one is still right there. Once again, reminder as we go, it is you're going to have this. It's now officially, well, tomorrow, I guess, with the release. So today will be the last spring 6-pack as it starts to get rolled out. All of our USL content, Championship, League One, League Two, USLW, WPSL, and the NPSL. All of that content is going to be rolling out this weekend with a lot of matches in the midweek and getting you ready for the weekend. Remember, Maddie last night was with Georgia Impact, and it is a very, very busy weekend there. Maddie's got the Impact on Friday night at 6. And then Decatur FC has a friendly with Tormenta. Jess and Jason will be on the call for that one. And to keep an eye out on all the social medias about how to keep an eye on that. And Impact are at FC Nashville on Saturday with Atlanta United being in St. Louis. Then Sunday it is Decatur FC at Chattanooga FC. And I think AST is going to be having a watch-along at O'Sullivan's from 7 to 10. And that's from 7 p.m. on because you get the USA match as well. And I think AST is going to be on after that. So it'll be a very, very busy weekend. Jason is set to join us tomorrow if he's not dead. So we'll have all of that with all of the activity that we have going on this morning. Michael's going to be at City Park. And the Soccer for Good OG says you'd like for Atlanta United to be a little less Canadian too. I think you saw that with Efra Morales last night. Katie says, my kids both left for camp this morning in messy shirts as if their grandmother's not Canadian. The disrespect. Yes, and Bart, it is an endowed professorship. And yeah, Tim Hortons downtown. Good on him. That's a smart play. That is a smart play. Tim Hortons, and then there's a Tim Hortons south of town too. let's see. So everybody's guessing what's going on with the performance. There's a South American artist that's going to be a part of the pregame. Kickoffs at 8. Pregame celebration concerts, all the music that happens at 7:00, and so we'll see. Yes, got to have time for Needless Leagues Cup if you're Michael Head jamming games in. Bart's biggest question from last night: is that performance and game plan replicable? Defend well, get a bit lucky. Hope Almada does magic. Seems like an okay strategy, not a guarantee to produce consistent results. Now that you don't have Almada on Saturday, wins are nice, but it feels like fool's gold. All right, so since we're going down this road, Stian has been training, and yes, dead is not an excusable absence. Stian has been training. We just don't know to what level he is. And I think they were trying to see Bright saying 3-0 to Messi's squad. I'll say 4-1. Might get one late if you're Canada. So, all right. So since we're discussing it, and probably we'll get into it tomorrow, let me get into the minutes of who played and what it looked like last night. So here we go. Atlanta and DC. I didn't even get into the statistics from last night. All right. So starting lineup: Shande, Rios, Muyumba, Tiago, Dax McCarty, Caleb Wiley, Noah Cobb, Derek Williams, Ephra, and Brooks Lennon, with Brad and Ned, who punched a 7.8. So for Atlanta, substitutions, Jay came in and played 25 plus added. So my guess is that Jay will start and Dax will relieve. In a situation like this, it's like I as just as a guidepost, I take the majority of the minutes and flip them in a midweek weekend situation. So Dax played 65, Jay played 25. I would imagine Jay's going to start and that Dax will come in and relieve. Also, Jamal and Daniel Rios. Daniel Rios played 65. Jay played 25. Jamal played 25. So Jamal would start for me, and Daniel will come in and relieve. But like I said, this is all dependent on physios and all of that stuff and what it looks like. So that's physios and all of this. But traditionally for me, when I look at a lineup, it's like flip what happened in the midweek and keep an eye on all of that. And then Luke came in for 10 and Shande left. So it wouldn't surprise me if, and this was the wild card with me because of the Mosqueda injury and Luke coming in and playing almost, I think it was 72 minutes. That's why I figured that Luke would come in as a sub in this match and then start in St. Louis with Shande coming in and relieving. The back line is going to be a question. You also don't know what your add-ons are going to be for the St. Louis match. And you don't know who's going to get call-ups and things like that. Does Javi Armas get a call-up? Since you can't call up Matthew Edwards anymore, which to me is just this side of ridiculous, what is it going to look like? You won't have Tiago, so that means probably Nick Firmino. And you'll have the relationship with Firmino and Brennan and the younger players that are there apart. You don't know where Tyler Wolf is in his recovery. Can Tyler give you some minutes in the second half just to get back into game shape? Tristan might be going back-to-back. Hope that he can give you 60. Caleb and Brooks, yes. Michael said Wiley and Brooks ran their asses off. Bet they're swearing at the schedule maker in the league. They're probably not the only ones. Noah got a yellow. But, yeah, your back line of Wiley, Morales, Derek, Noah, and Brooks. That's where I want to see what the physios have in mind. I want to see because and the thing is, we all know, and I will say this to everyone who is heading to St. Louis, pack double your clothes. Pack double your Atlanta United gear. And there damn well better be a hydration break. Because no matter what the temperature is, it is going to be hot, thick, nasty, foul, Midwestern weather of 90s and matching humidity in St. Louis. At least I think it is. So if you're traveling, pack double your clothes. I know it's an inconvenience, but you're probably going to blow through a lot of your stuff. And I mean that in the sense of sweating through your clothes. Pack double your clothes. So that way you don't have nasty T-shirts and whatever sticking to you. Stay hydrated, stay hydrated, stay hydrated, but pack double your clothes. The back line is what I want to see. Can Stian give me minutes for Noah? With the younger players, what can Noah and Efra give me? What can Caleb and Brooks give me? My guess is the rest of the bench, by the way, was Matt Edwards, Ronald Hernandez, Matias Gajardo, Nick Firmino. So my guess is Firmino in. Gajardo probably makes another trip. And you can't have Matt Edwards anymore, so it wouldn't surprise me if Ronald started and Caleb got minutes later in relief out of the bullpen. So that's what you're looking at. But right now, you're dealing with a team in St. Louis that has injuries. As Pompeyu's out, Strauss is out, and you've also got Rasmus Alm, who's out. Kyle Hebert is on national team duty with Canada. Nielsen has issues with a hamstring. I don't think he's going to be playing. Tomas Ostrak has an ankle injury. Tim Parker is on. He was not in the lineup in the midweek, and Pompeyu is out with a leg. So, and it's a knee injury, and he's done for the year. So, if you're the forecast high is only 95 according to Michael. And that's true. 4 days. And that's a good point, Dan. Edwards Gajardo signed their deals yesterday. But eligible Saturday within the 4 days. That's a good massaging of the rule. Gajardo, I think you'll be okay. Edwards, this is his last call-up. So I think probably, let's see, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I think, okay. So if we apply it, I think you're okay. So good call, Dan. So Edwards, Gajardo. So Matt Edwards, Ronald Hernandez, probably Hernandez on the left. Then if you go and Hernandez on the left, Matt Edwards available. Seeing what Efra and Noah can give you. Can Derek give you minutes? Brooks on the right or Ronald on the right. Brooks coming in to give you 30 to close things out. Midfield might be Tristan, probably Jay. Dax coming in relief. Firmino starts. Luke with relief in Shonday. Jamal with relief in Daniel. Gajardo running like hell in the midfield. So you can kind of see and literally, like I said, this is just me flipping names from the minutes that were played in the midweek. Short of not knowing Caleb and not knowing Brooks and Tristan. So that would be, if you started, like I said, and this is just me off the wall here, starting Gajardo, which I don't know if you would do, but what can you give me? Can you give me 45? That's the question. The physios are going through all the analysis. Today is rest, relax, regen for everybody. Then tomorrow you take a flight, you go to St. Louis. Maybe a little film work, but St. Louis is Red Bull's light, Red Bull's Midwest. Literally, that's what you're doing. What you do, here's what you do if you're Atlanta United. You treat it like the Red Bulls match at Red Bull Arena in the playoffs. You just hoof it long. Force St. Louis to do all the work. Let them do all the work. Michael's done the work. Forecast highs only 95 plus humidity, so it's probably like 103, 104. It'll be a great environment for those of you that go. But St. Louis City SC is not a very good team right now. Opportunity for Atlanta to get. I think you can get a point at least out of that. But like I said, with their injuries in key spots, Nielsen, Strauss, Ostrak, folks out for international duty, there's a chance here. But like I said, I'm just taking the lineup and flipping what it was in D.C. and flipping it to St. Louis. But Dan, I think that's a good point about the 4-day window. Having Edwards and Guinjardo possibly to play for another 10 day, another opportunity, since it's within the 4-day window. God, that's so stupid. So there it is. Okay. Stats. We didn't get the chance to get into stats yesterday. From yesterday. By the time it was done, XG and stats and all this kind of stuff. Ball possession 54-46 for DC. XG was 1.21 to 0.83. Okay. So very, very low in the first 45, 0.22 to 0.17 in the XG, by the way, 1.21 to 0.83. 2 big chances for DC United compared to 1 for Atlanta. 19 total shots for DC compared to 9. 3 saves for Tyler Miller, 4 for Brad Guzan. 11 corners for DC compared to 2. Fouls, 16 fouls, 4 yellow cards. So 16 fouls, that's even under Pierre-Luc Lazier's average of 23 a match. He only called 16 fouls? That's crazy. But pretty much when he called a foul, he showed a card, 2 yellows on each side. Tackles, 20-16 for DC, 11 free kicks to 4. And shots on target, 4 each. Shots off target, 9-4 to DC, and some of those were pretty bad. Big chances missed, 2-1 for DC. Touches in the penalty area, 30-16 for DC. Fouls in the final third, 2 for Atlanta United. And crosses and duels. You had the duels. It was 58-42 to a DC United. Ground duels, 33 of the 58 went to DC, so 57% of the ground duels went to DC. 60-40 of those in the air, but you kept Benteke in check, by the way. Tackles won, 20 of the 30, 20-16. 55% of the tackles won by DC, only 50% for Atlanta. But hey, 9 picks to 8 for Atlanta, 49 recoveries to 48, 31 clearances for Atlanta United. 31 clearances for Atlanta United in that match. That's insane. Goals prevented, 0.48. Goal kicks, 12-7. And that's where you are with DC and Atlanta United, getting out of the door in one piece. Other news before we get into Niko. Goal alert. Slovenia in the 70th minute. Oh. Slovenia with the goal over Serbia. Slovenian children are happy in slow motion. Get into all the other news of the morning. Valentino at the whiteboard, Katie Weaver. Okay, boys, our defensive strategy is you soccer dad yelling, hoof it. Yeah, get it out of here. They were physical last night. And that's right. I wanted to check Benteke's numbers. Christian Benteke, heat map, obviously close to the 18, right down the middle. 0.34 XG, 2 shots on target, 1 blocked. 0 for 2 on the dribble, 36 touches, 82% passing, 18-22. Won 10 of 12 in the air, but only won 1 of 5 on the ground. Lost possession 10 times, and that speaks to what Atlanta United was doing defensively. Fouled once, 1 clearance, and that's it. That's pretty quiet. That's more Belgian bread loaf than anything else. That is more Belgian bread loaf, Christian Benteke, than anybody else. The other numbers on the day, Shande a 6.3, Daniel Rios a 6.8. Same with Tristan. Noah Cobb a 6.9. Everybody else was 7s. Dax a 7.1. Thiago a 7.4 with the goal. Caleb a 7.3. Derek, Ephra, and Brooks Lennon each a 7.2. Brad a 7.8. Brad, on his numbers, it was 4 saves, 2 successful runouts, 4 saves from inside the box, 48 touches, 22 of 38 passing, and 58%. 11 successful long balls completed, 3 clearances, 1 aerial duel won for Brad on the night to get a 7.8. Looks like Steve Cooper is going to get the Leicester gig. Graham Potter was dragging his heels, and Top was not a fan of Graham Potter dragging his heels, and so they've gone to Steve Cooper. And it looks like that Steve Cooper is now going to be the boss of Leicester going forward for the next couple of years. They say it's a 3-year deal in some circles, and so that is where we are. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo. Manchester United have started internal talks about a move for Bayern Munich's Matthijs de Ligt. Club values at €50 million, just over £42 million. The Manchester United does not intend to match Everton's £70 million valuation of Jared Branthwaite, and are going to walk away from any deal having an initial offer worth up to £43 million rejected. So Everton's like 70. Manchester United, 43. I don't quite think they're going to meet in the middle. Arsenal interested in making a move for Kira Walsh from Barca Femenil. Valencia have made a £25 million bid for Mason Greenwood, who's also been linked to Juve. He wants to remain in Spain, having had a stint with Getafe last season. Michael Olise verbally agreed to the personal terms offered by Chelsea, who are pushing to beat everyone else to the punch in signing him. They've also begun talks, meaning Palace, with Arsenal over a move for England U21 winger Reece Nelson. Fulham and West Ham also keen on the 24-year-old. City prepared to increase manager Pep Guardiola's £20 million a year salary to help convince him to extend his contract. Jack Grealish could seek a move away from City, but his high wages and contract until 27 may prove to be a stumbling block. AC Milan sent a scout to watch Armando Broja in Albania's action. Could weigh up a possible move for the striker. Lille turned down the £42.3 million bid for an unnamed Premier League club for 18-year-old French center back Lenny Yoro, who's been linked with Liverpool and United, said to prefer a transfer to Real Madrid. Victor Lindelof, target for new Fenerbahce boss Jose Mourinho, who worked with him at Old Trafford. United have joined AC Milan and Borussia Dortmund in pursuit of 17-year-old striker for Austria's U17s, Ogenetejiri Adeginagur. Took me a second. Ogenetejiri Adeginagur, 4 goals for Austria during the recent U17 championship. Manchester City are looking to hijack Real Madrid's move for the 16-year-old Argentine midfielder Franco Mastantuono, who has a release clause of £45 million. Liverpool recently made an inquiry about 27-year-old Stuttgart center back Valdemar Anton, who's part of the squad for Germany in the Euros. Release clause of about £19 million. Juve moved ahead of Dortmund in trying to sign Jadon Sancho, who spent the second half of the last season on loan at the German club. So that's your gossip, rumor, and innuendo. And this is the guy's name that I was trying to pronounce just a little bit ago. Tom says the Red Manx can pound sand for $40 million. Yeah, so I don't think it's like literally you're apart by a good 35-40 million. Yeah, nah, that's not going to wash. I don't think that's going to quite wash. Remember, Copa's tonight. As we go tomorrow, as a part of what's going on, we got to make sure that I know what you guys think about the Copa. Who's going to win? How far is the U.S. going to go? Give me surprises. Give me your shocks. Give me who you're looking forward to seeing. All those kinds of things. Are you going? Are you going to any one of the 2 matches at Mercedes-Benz? Did you shell out the coin to make it happen? Are you going to the USA match, or are you just going to party? That's the big question. Are you going, or are you just going to party? Make it happen. That's the whole deal. Once again, remember that the 6-pack's coming out a little later. We've got our interviews with our NPSL folks and with Decatur FC. Jack Marchant is going to be our interview with Decatur FC this week, and that'll be available with us tomorrow. And that will also be a part of the WPSL show. Very, very busy stuff going on. 15 minutes to go. Slovenia still leading Serbia by the score of 1-0. Public service announcement. Tom has 2 for sale for the USA match. You get to sit with Tom. Beat 2, 3, 4. Michael Head, costs are going to keep him at his house, going to Mercedes-Benz. Well, I mean, it's legitimately, the cost I've seen for tickets in the 100 level, and this was yesterday, 100 level in row 15. Basically, it's almost an entire monthly car payment for me. And given the choice of car payment or going to see a soccer match, I'm kind of with Michael here. I'll watch it at Mercedes. I'll watch it at home. But once again, kicks at 8, and it will be a bunch of pomp, circumstance, and partying going on from 7 to 8, and it will be very, very fun to see what's going on. Michael Valverde wants to discuss sitting with Tom for the USA match. Houston Dash signed keeper Jane Campbell to a 4-year extension, so that's going on this morning. Let's see. Any other news? Apparently, Telemarketer tried to call me this morning, so that one's going to be put right in the dumper. So that's not going to work out very well. Also, what is going on today with we mentioned how the Serbians threatened to walk away from the tournament because of stupid things that fans were saying. So, yeah, we can roll the clock back and stupidity down here. Sir Jim Ratcliffe is frustrated Manchester United's blocked from signing Nice's Jean-Claire Todibo. He also says that the Premier League faces ruin and appears to back the Manchester City legal fight. Says he can understand why City are challenging the league's associated party transaction rules. And he also said it's going to take 3 summer windows to get them where they need to be when it comes to be a club. 2-week private arbitration hearing began on the 10th. City claiming they've been targeted by a tyranny of the majority and are victims of discrimination. City's detractors fear defeat of the Premier League in the case could eventually lead to the end of any meaningful financial controls in the competition. Sir Jim Ratcliffe told Bloomberg, I can understand why they're challenging it. You can understand they would say that they want an open market and a free market. Ratcliffe believes the Premier League needed to be careful not to end up in an endless legal wrangle with lots of clubs and expressed concern over the regulation that could be the ruination of Europe's richest domestic league. Final half hour of the show on a Thursday, and we know what that means. It means one thing and one thing only. You run a special open, you wait a couple seconds after the open goes, and you bring in a guest. It's that time. Beat 2, 3, 4. Hey, brother, what's going on? It's time for Niko and Thursdays with Niko, where we break everything down and then some. What's going on?
Hey, what's going on, SDH family? My guy John, excited to be on. Cup of coffee number 2. We are rolling this morning. Lots to do, very busy. Just as busy as this MLS midweek was like. 52 goals, a bunch of great plays. Inter Miami cannot seem to lose. The Sounders get one back. I mean, there was so much happening in MLS. Plus, we got Copa America coming. I mean, my goodness, it's just a fantastic week for soccer all around the world.
All right, so let's talk Copa to start things off. Tonight, it's a sellout. North of 70,000. Argentina and Canada here locally at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. You've got Argentina fans walking all up and down the streets downtown Atlanta singing Muchachos in front of a Hooters restaurant. It is madness, mass hysteria. From this tournament, are you a chalk guy? Are you thinking Argentina and everybody else, or do you have somebody up your sleeve?
Well, you know who I got down my sleeve. You absolutely know who I got down my sleeve. I got Colombia for the very first time in a long time. I can honestly say I am feeling the vibe. I am feeling the team. I am finally on Team Nestor Lorenzo after I did not believe in the hire. And now 18 unbeaten games later and some of the better player pools that I can remember in a long time for this Colombia team. I'm on board, baby. I think they are third in terms of contenders. I think it goes Argentina, Uruguay, Colombia. I feel like this team has a solid back line, defensively stable. They have a lot of playmakers. Lucho Diaz is feeling himself. James Rodriguez seemed to be back into that player that perhaps at the club level isn't amazing, brilliant, but when he puts that national team shirt on, he just becomes another man, an S kind of emerges in his chest and he becomes the Superman for Colombia. So I do believe in this Colombia team. But Argentina, they're going to be quality, man. I mean, you saw it. The way they kind of handled their friendlies was very smart, rotated a lot of players, got some players back. So I think it's going to be a good Copa America.
When you think about Uruguay with El Loco in charge, I think that they're going to be fun just for the visual aspect of it, even though I know a lot of folks are saying, you know, Argentina, Uruguay, et cetera, the teams to keep an eye on in this tournament. I think just the factor of seeing Marcelo Bielsa sitting on, you know, whatever he wants to sit on. You know, he takes a drum, puts it on the side, sits on it, and just kind of looks over everything. I think for just the cultural experience alone, looking at Marcelo Bielsa and how he's working things with Uruguay, I think that's going to be a fun watch across the board, regardless of where they finish.
Yeah, and the young players that are coming up throughout Uruguay, he has that ability to give players confidence, put them in a system that works for them. I think Pelistri is a player that you're going to be want to watch in this Copa America. I feel like Nunez still has a lot to prove at the national team level, and he seems to be willing to do it. And he's looked good. He's looked like he doesn't need 9 chances to put at least a couple away. So in terms of set pieces, they've been outstanding. And defensively, we all want to talk about El Loco's ability to just play beautiful soccer, play offensive soccer. I think because of the individual players and the stability that Jimenez has given that back line, that Uruguayan team, it's pretty, well constructed and well coached. So they're going to be difficult to beat. I mean, you put Argentina above them simply because of the Messi factor, the fact that they're the World Cup champions. But Uruguay is right there, man, in this Copa America in terms of who you think is going to take it.
All right. So you mentioned Facundo Pelistri. Who else, for folks that may not necessarily be the hardcores that will watch anything, any place, anytime, twice on Tuesday, who are some of those other players to watch that aren't the big names and the big ticket items that you would steer folks to watch in this tournament?
Yeah, I think Luciano Rodriguez is a 20-year-old player that's going to be interesting in this one. I think that maybe if you don't really follow this team, a guy like Olaza is another player that's going to be focused for this Uruguayan team, Araujo as well. Those are the players that kind of come to mind in terms of those that you might not know, because everybody knows Betancourt. You know, everybody, MLS players, MLS followers might know Brian Rodriguez, who has been very good for Uruguay. So, you know, you got the Nandezes, the usual suspects for this Uruguayan team. But I think Luciano Rodriguez is probably the one I would key on for those that maybe don't follow Uruguay as much.
All right, so who's going to be the biggest surprise and who's going to be the biggest bust?
Man, that's a tough one. I think the biggest surprise for a lot of people is going to be Colombia still. Just the other day, I was hearing a podcast that was kind of talking about the U.S. and how they played Colombia and they got beat, but then they played a better Brazil. Brazil is not better than Colombia right now. Let me just say that right now. So I think Colombia is going to be a big surprise. I feel like a team like Venezuela. I think Venezuela might surprise some people. I don't think that they realize the tough quality midfield that this Venezuela team has.
Right.
They have a lot of young prospects. I don't think that if you haven't been following the CONMEBOL qualifiers and you haven't been following what's kind of happened with Venezuela over the last couple of years, you might not realize that there's a lot of talent. So Venezuela could be one that's going to surprise my biggest bust, which is going to be Mexico.
Yeah.
And I say that simply because Mexico has the huge fan base. They're going to be home team every game. Doesn't matter where they play. You can put them in. Doesn't matter where you put them in the States. They're going to fill up with all of their crowd, all of their potential. But I look at that roster, man, and I feel like they have no grit in the midfield. You've seen it in the friendlies. It's so easy to progress the ball against that team. I don't think the 4-3-3 fits Mexico as well as Lozano thinks it does. I think that there's still question marks in terms of who's going to be that goal scorer for Mexico. I haven't seen enough out of Santi Jimenez. I think Quinones is a quality player, the Colombia naturalized Mexican winger. I think he's going to be a good player. He's been great for America, but can he put it together for his national team? They're a little bit of a liability defensively. Arteaga on the left side defensively in the left back position has been a highway for teams to get over on Mexico. And then you put them on the side of players that don't help them defend either, and it just becomes a huge problem because you have Quinones on that side. You have Charlie on that side helping out. None of those players really scream defending. So I just feel like there's a lot of holes on this Mexican team. They have a lot of pressure regardless of, because there's pressure on the coach. There's pressure on the players. So I really do think they're going to be the team that's going to flame out.
So you mentioned El Tri. Let me ask you, what about Chucky Lozano? I know we're all over the board. But what about Chucky Lozano signing with San Diego?
I think it's a fantastic move by San Diego. I think it's a fantastic move for Lozano. Fans might not think so, and they're going to jump on him and say that he's retired, that he's washed. My son, Mexican Colombian, he's like, oh, Chucky's washed. He's going to come to MLS. I don't think it's that, black or white. I think it's a great move for a player that did as much as he could. Now he has the opportunity to be the face of a club and actually back it up, something that he hasn't been able to do. He was Napoli's biggest signing. He came over. He couldn't really put it together, back up the expectations. PSV, similar situation there. Maybe didn't come in as the guy, but he came as a big signing, and he did some. I don't think he had terrible performances. I just don't think he played to the expectation that he had, that most fans had when he came to Chucky Lozano. So I think it's a fantastic move, being the face of a club, following the Carlos Vela steps in maybe a more prominent time in his career. I think it's a good move for all teams concerned. And now we'll see what happens with the coaching, because that's going to be a huge component. Is it going to be Piojo? Is it going to be someone more MLS friendly? Who is going to be that guy that's going to take this team to the next level? But I like the signing. I really do. There's nothing for the league or the club that says I'm all in than a guy like Chucky Lozano coming to MLS.
So if your gut talked to you about this, is it going to be Piojo would be your first manager to get you in the door, get you noticed, and attract talent, or are you going in a different direction?
I think so, man. I'm hearing that's the guy, and he makes all kinds of sense because he knows the game. He has been in situations where he's kind of brought up teams and made them successful. He's passionate. He knows the Xolos and Tijuana's soccer scene, and when you got San Diego having the ability to go get young talent, academy talent in Tijuana, having a guy like Piojo that would be one hell of a recruiter as well, just makes all kinds of sense. He has a house in Tijuana, which is, I don't know, hour away, couple hours away from San Diego. And again, you're talking about a big, I don't know if I want to call it an ego, but a big talent like Chucky, having a guy like Piojo taking all the bullets, the heat. I just think he works. He makes sense. So for me, yes, I think Piojo would be and is the best option for the San Diego team.
All right. So now that we've gone into Major League Soccer, see how we transition there?
I like that. Look at that. Just absolutely throwing me into open space right there. I like it. Very good quarterback.
Transition. We sit there, run the option a little bit, make sure that you get 34 wham. You got everything there. The linemen are sitting there, and they make the hole for you, and you get the first down, move the sticks. Last night, it seemed like early on in the Eastern Conference, there was no interest in scoring at all. And then as the night grew on, it's like if you were a 7:30 Eastern game, everybody's just like, nah, we'll get back to you. starting with the 7:45 Eastern game with Philly and Cincy, and then through the rest of the evening, all hell broke loose. What sticks in your mind? We'll start there before we dive into Seattle and Houston specifically. But what sticks in your mind after all of the madness that happened last night, starting with the 7:45, the 4:45 with Philly and Cincy? You had 7 goals there. You had 8 with Dallas and Minnesota. It was chaos starting at 4:45 for you, man.
I think the Philadelphia Union's descent and free fall. I mean, it is tough to watch Philadelphia going back to back, terrible games back to back, games where you're giving up not just the draw, but dropping points at the end of the game. They seem to have no way to fix what's wrong. There seems to be no fight for this Philadelphia team. When we go back just to the weekend, when you're playing a Miami team that has 9 players and you can't hold the lead, and you allow Alonso to conduct the ball from midfield all the way to your goal. And I think it was Glesnes who was on him. The last defender can manage to at least push him, pull him, do something, kick him, take the red. Don't allow him to just blow past you and then give the win to an Inter Miami team that had none of their stars on their side. And then you move to this week and you play a good game and you get a couple of goals and Bueno gets on the scoreboard and he seems to be going your way. And you can't prevent Luciano Acosta, Lucho, from just picking up the ball in zone 14 of the field and dribble through the inside of your 18 and put that away. I mean, it's just mind-boggling that even when you feel like the Philadelphia Union had everything going their way to win this one, or at least draw it, they once again draw points. I know that Jim just got an extension and there's no coaching controversy, but oh my God, then how do you fix it? How do you fix it? Because I understand that Cincinnati is a quality team and they've looked good. My goodness, has Kevin Kelsey been unbelievable? And we know what Luciano Costa provides, but just Philadelphia, that's what sticks on my mind. That the inability to just win games, to just show me that this is a squad that's been together for a long time, that's been coached but with the same system for a long time. That is just probably the biggest problem and the thing that sticks out in my mind the most out of yesterday when it comes to the Eastern Conference.
Western Conference, obviously, Georgi Mihailovic ends up with a hattie. Did not have that on my scorecard. You end up with, I mean, hey, look, Dallas getting 5 on Minnesota. We're sitting there and we're talking about how, Minnesota is the second coming of the second coming with a 32-year-old coach that wears a T-shirt and a sweater vest. Or RSL, who is dancing with Sporting Kansas City and 7 goals in that one. You mentioned teams in trouble. You mentioned Philly. I think Sporting is right there with you. Dallas. Got a bit.
Hey, I warned you guys about Minnesota. It's like that buzz that's never that's late, but it's always there. You knew that they were going to have a problem. You knew that they were going to make you want to rip your hair out, Minnesota fans. I mean, I'm sorry, but I mentioned it. It seemed like they were overperforming, quite honestly, in the XG or in general overall play. I like what they were doing, and I said this. I mean, I like the fact that they're simplistic with the style of play. They want to put it together. They want to have a lot of guys behind the ball, make it difficult to be broken down. But it was coming, guys. It was coming. This team was gonna hit a big obstacle, a speed bump the size of your house, and that's what's going on right now. In reality, this Dallas team after Niko Steves, yes, maybe they got a little bit of a, push, a little bit of a new air, new oxygen in that locker room. And you knew that Musa was going to be a strong player and he was going to do a lot of things. But for them to put 5 on Minnesota the way they did, it just seems like they collapse within each other. I understand that they're missing players. I get that. I'm not denying that. I'm not dismissing the fact that Minnesota was missing players in this one, was missing players against Seattle when they lost to Seattle here at home. But at the end of the day, Minnesota was going to have some issues. It wasn't going to be just about the vibes and a new system working. Now that there's enough tape on you, now that people are starting to understand what you like to do, and you're missing a couple of players, it was just coming. So I think Colorado is maybe a surprise to some. We all were on the hype train at the beginning, then we all jumped off. Maybe 5 weeks into MLS, now everybody's back on. But I think it says this last score against St. Louis, this 3-0 win, it says more about St. Louis, man. I mean, the sort of mistakes that they had. Berkey, an unlikely mistake when he throws the ball right at Mihalovic and he puts it away. Defensively, so poor, so anemic. There was no man marking. There was just no power, no drive to win second balls. They're going to miss Pompeo. They are going to miss Pompeo. Had been, praising him all season long. There's just no one else that could do what Pompeo did. So although I do give Colorado a lot of credit, I want to say that it was more telling to me that St. Louis is going to have to figure out and do a lot of moves in this summer window to try to maintain some of that success that they now kind of set in expectations for all their fan base.
Well, because, you're basically the Red Bulls Midwest with what you did when you brought in Bradley Carnell. You knew what you were getting into with Pfannenstiel and the kind of talent that you wanted to bring in because of the system that's there. And I mean, the example that we give, it's like calling up the kid from Tacoma Rainiers to give the start for the Mariners, and you don't have a book on him. He goes 5 2/3, gives up an earned run. Manager pulls him with runners on base because the second time through the lineup, folks started to get him timed out. First year with St. Louis, you get the pie plate. You get the Captain America shield for the Western Conference, but because you played in back-to-back games against somebody, you got bounced because you got found out. This is year 2 of getting found out. That pitcher's back through the lineup, and everybody knows what to expect with City SC.
Yeah, exactly. And it kind of correlates what we were just talking about. Minnesota and St. Louis got found, one quicker than the other, but this Ramsey system kind of is falling apart because of the similar things that St. Louis one did. When you're playing a system and somebody figures out your system, then you're done. Because if you have to all of a sudden rely on individual talent and guys that maybe are going to go off that system that you're trying to put together or off the plan because you need that in MLS and you don't have that, then that's a problem, right? On one side, Minnesota, I'm sorry to tell you guys, but Dotson's not a guy that's going to be taking over. Will Trapp isn't either. And on their end as well, even a guy like Lewin, who's been as good as he has, he gets that PK, misses it, and all of a sudden just things are falling off from you, and he doesn't have the power, the influence to get away from that bad moment and just kind of put it together elsewhere. So similar situations there, just lack of talent, lack of just ability to do something different than what you set it out to do initially in the game. You got to be able to adapt within the game what the teams are providing you with. So that's the issue with both St. Louis and Minnesota.
Yep. RSL put 4 on Kansas City. I still think Peter Vermeer's career dissipation light's kind of waving off to the side here. LA beat NYC and Portland beat San Jose 2-1. Let's circle back to Houston and Seattle. What happened at Hell in a Shell in a 2-2 draw?
Yeah, man, that was a crazy game. I mean, Seattle is a team that their biggest issue is lack of consistency. They can put it together for 30 minutes at a time. They could put it together for 50 minutes at a time. They could put it together in 90 like they did with Minnesota. But can you put those 90 into the next 90? They just haven't been able to do that. In this one, the first half, Maybe it wasn't as bad as people made it sound in social media. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't great, but I understood what Brown was trying to do in terms of the rotation, the approach to this game. But then a couple of mistakes happened, and Houston gets ahead. I mean, mistakes will happen, and that's just part of the game. But Obed Vargas gives up a very easy ball right on top of the 18. It becomes a quick turnaround. One thing's lead to another. Houston ends up being right in front of goal. Stephen Fry, once again, can he do better on that play? Absolutely. That gives the 1-0. Then in the second one, Yammer Gomez Andrade tries to head it out, heads it right into a Houston midfielder that just creates a quick counter. There's just no balance. Jay Bell, as much as he had a decent game in that particular play, you got to check your shoulder. You got to know where the runner is. Doesn't check it. Blessing all of a sudden had one. Now he has two, and just the game changes. You have to give credit to Brian Smetzer for saying whatever he said at halftime. Paul Rothrock, who was one of the players that's kind of stepped up in the last couple of games, he talked about everything that Brian was trying to get to when he came to the halftime. He really got the troops going. Then you start the second half, and you have a response. And that you have to give credit to the coach. You have to give credit to the players. Things change around. Things turn around for Seattle. Whenever a guy like Paul Rothrock is doing as good as he has, it provides a spark. And he's provided a spark in the last two games. He had a good game at Minnesota when he came in the first minute because Alex Roldan was put in concussion protocol. He gets the well-deserved second start in this one, and I thought he was good. And that demeanor, that effort is what provides the equalizer for Seattle, or the first one to kind of push the equalizer in the second one. But Paul Rothrock, relentless. He gets over Mikhail, I believe, gets that goal. And then after that, kind of things change. The feel of the team changed with that first Paul Rothrock goal. Then all of a sudden, there's a set piece. You put it into the 18 where Jackson Regan gets to it. They both score. Fantastic to see it. Kind of a story for your listeners. That was the first time since they both played at Seattle United, which is just a club in Washington, that they both scored. Both of these guys have grown up together. They've played club soccer level together. So it was kind of cool seeing both of them score, change the game, get the equalizer. But there's still a lot for the Seattle team to fix and to find some consistency and to find some balance. But a point on the road, the way and fashion that you did it, I think really helped this Seattle team that has to turn around and hope to put that momentum into a home game against Dallas here on the weekend.
I was going to say, we got two games to talk about in cliffhanger. Seattle and Dallas. Right now, juice boxes have Seattle at a -169. Draws almost a +300. And FC Dallas is a +463 in the composite. The other game on the board worth talking about, RSL hosting LAG at Rio Tinto. Real Salt Lake a -132. Draws is +312. LAG on the road is a +301.
Give me the draw 312 and show me the compos on the goals, because this is going to be a goal fest, baby. I see it. I feel it. Hopefully it doesn't let me down.
All right. So 2.5 is a -223. 3.5 is a +112. So it flips at 3.25. +3.5 on your over-under is a +112. 4.5 is a +248.
Give me the 4.5 and the draw. The 4.5 and the draw. That is a whole lot of goals. That you're talking about 6 goals in that one. I feel it. I see it. Let's see if it pays out. But it's going to be a good one, man. I mean, LA Galaxy have looked good even without Ricky, and that's important. Diego Fagundes has really done a good job at giving you a lot of those Ricky-ish components. I think Gabriel Peck is absolutely finding his feet in MLS. Pencil's back. I mean, that's a dangerous from 4. Jovic, of course, giving you that extra punch, that extra TNT. And then you go against RSL. Oh, Carlos Gomez. Can you get any faster? Can you do any more? Can you be any more fun? My goodness, that guy, just unbelievable. He's one of those guys that's made me look really good. I said this was going to be the Carlos Gomez year, and boy, has it. Boy, has it been his year. Completely unbelievable. You just said yesterday, man, all it takes is giving him room and space, and he's gonna burn you. And then that chip over the goalkeeper to just, I mean, my goodness, he's feeling it, and that makes RSL so dangerous. Because when you get a guy like Chicho, you get a guy like Carlos Gomez, and then you got either Barajas or Luna, who Luna played a fantastic game. Luna in distribution, Luna understanding spacing, Luna's ability to lead the transition play was unreal in this one. So RSL, LA Galaxy, that's the game to watch. And on the other side, Sounders, Dallas, that's going to be another draw, in my opinion. I don't expect Pedro de la Vega to be back in this one just yet. JP had a couple of minutes because they were resting him, rotating him for this one. No Raul Ruiz in this one either. Jordan Morris got the go at 9 again. I continue to say that there's nothing that Jordan cannot provide you on the wing that he's providing you at the 9. People are calling Raul wash. I understand that, that, you know, he hasn't looked good at times, but I still believe that 75% Raul at the 9 is better than 100% Jordan at the 9, because Jordan can do so many more things on the wing. If there were other options at the wing, and there were other options where it's not just Leo and Christian Roldan, maybe I would buy into the fact of you putting Jordan up top. But right now, the way the team is set up, I continue to think Raul is the right option at the 9. So we'll see how that goes against Dallas, but I do see a draw in this one.
All right, so 4Card asks, is Raul still around after the summer window?
Absolutely, 110%. There is nothing that tells me that this Sounders team is willing to go and get another DP. And if you're not going to go and get another DP, it makes no sense to get rid of Raul. Like 0 sense. Because you're not going to put that sort of expectation on you. People are going to want another DP if you're getting rid of one. So the easiest solution is just allowing that contract to finish, allowing Raul to continue to be either a super sub or continue to be a starter as he has. He's still your leading scorer. He's still a locker room guy. He's still someone that is very influential for this club. Therefore, if there was a willingness and I saw a way where this Sounders team was going to go and get you the DP of the future, I would say yes. They're going to try to move Raul. They're going to make some room. But without that, it's just not going to happen. Not to mention the fact that, quite honestly, when it comes to a Sounders team that has had as many issues as they have, how much are you willing to really bring right now when you're having such a hard time even staying within the playoff line? And I've said it once, I've said it twice. I think that maybe Open Cup can give this team something to hang their hat on. But other than that, man, it's difficult to just say, like RSL, right? They're looking so great. They're looking so good. If I bring someone else, I'm for sure going to have a title. That's different. Seattle is barely staying relevant right now. It's pointless to go get a DP at this moment in time. There's just no reason for it. And there's just no ability to.
And so 4Card follow-up. So it's a philosophy thing and not a money thing?
No, I think it's a money thing.
Yeah.
I think it's a money. It's a little bit of both. Okay. And that's a great question. I think that the transfer budget is going to be constructed to the way that you're going to be able to use all of that money in 2025 when you're for sure going to be able to open up to DP spots, Raul's and Albert's. So you want to have all that money for that moment in time. You're going to have the U22 initiative, U22 initiative open at that time as well. Right now, what you're going to do is try to bring something that you can fit into Javi's salary. What was opened up in the books, you're going to bring a guy that's going to be able to help you within that range of money, and you're going to roll with the team you have. You're going to hope that Pedro de la Vega at some point gets back in business and is able to give you maybe some extra wins. But aside from that, I don't see anything else happening. The Seattle Sounders group as well have just recently bought the ring from the old ring. Now they're all going to be under the umbrella of Seattle Soccer, if you will. And that, I'm sorry to tell you, but that's an investment. That's money that's coming from the owners. That's money that's going to affect in some way the ability for the Sounders to go get guys. So because of all these factors, I don't think that they're going to go in the summer and go get a big guy, right? So it is a money thing. The philosophy, maybe 25% of that kind of goes along those lines, but I do think that is mainly about money.
All right, so one more question before you go. We started with Copa, we'll end with Copa. What do you think it means in the grand scheme of things to have the United States hosting Copa America?
Say it again.
What do you think it means to have the United States being the host country for Copa America? What do you think it means for the soccer community to have the United States hosting the Copa?
Yeah, well, and thank you for clarifying it, because it could go so many ways, right? I mean, for the soccer community, it's a well-deserved prize, a well-deserved earned reward for loving the game, for being as loyal to you guys as clubs, for the growth and development of MLS in all divisions, whether it's younger divisions all the way up to the club level. It could mean that for those that are a little bit more morbid, you could say that CONCACAF and CONMEBOL have realized that the money's in the States. And if you put a tournament here and there's so much following from every single nationality, it's going to create a different field. It's going to create a lot of money. I mean, you saw that Colombia USA game. There was more yellow than there was, white and blue and stripes and stars, right? So that's kind of what you're realizing, is that there's a lot of money to be had here. But I do believe that it is a reflection of the amount of commitment that has been put into soccer in the U.S. community in general. I think that is going to help the game huge. The young players, the young kids that are going to be watching these tournaments are going to have a different feel for the game. Those memories that I had as a kid when there were tournaments in Colombia, you guys are going to have, these kids are going to have, and that's going to push the idea of soccer. So I think it is a transcendent moment. I think that is in a perfect step stool to the climax of the World Cup here. So I just think it's a huge moment. It's a historic moment for U.S. soccer and the U.S. soccer community.
All right, so give me the plug. I know you got to jump because you got Soccer Bar and Pulso Sports. What's going on?
I do. We got Soccer Bar here in about 10 minutes. I might have to do it from the car because I got to go to a whole other place after this. Probably not safe, but I'm going to have somebody take me. So just by the way. So check it out. We're going to be talking about a lot of this. We're going to be talking about Copa America, what's ahead, the games start today, Pulso Sports as well. We're going to not have anything till tomorrow when the team comes back. Players are off. But tomorrow we're going to be at the training facility, Swedish facility. I still can't get it right. Providence in Swedish.
There you go.
Training facility. And so we're going to be down there talking to the guys, see what the feel is after that 2-2 draw in the upcoming game against FC Dallas.
All right, my friend, get out of here because you got stuff to do. We'll catch up with you next week.
All right, my friend. Have a good one.
All right, Niko Moreno, Pulso Sports and the Soccer Bar. He's got stuff to do. He is the busiest man in the Northwest Forecard. You are absolutely correct. So tomorrow, once again, getting you ready for the weekend. If Jason's alive, we'll catch up with him in the hour number 2. We got Weekend Whip Around, patent pending, trademark coming sooner, hopefully rather than later. We'll have the highlights and all the feedback from everything that happened tonight. If you're going, be safe. Get there early because it's going to be a while. It's going to be a long night, 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock, and then the egress. So just make sure that you are practicing safe tailgating, safe ingress and egress. So it was a big night for Atlanta United. A lot of goals starting at 7:45 in Major League Soccer. We can talk more about that tomorrow. We'll talk about Canada and Argentina tomorrow. Get you ready for the United States on the weekend. All the things and maybe catch up with our friends at Beyond Goals Mentoring. We'll see what's going on with them as well. Four-card mucho plati, y'all. Thanks to all of you guys for being on the show, flying around all over the place. It's great to catch up with Christian Jack, and great to catch up with Niko Moreno, as we always do on Thursday. So back in a little less than 22, and we will take you through Friday and get you ready for the weekend. So once again, thanks for being a part of everything here at SDH. For Jarrett, for KJ, for Niko, I'm just John. Thanks for dropping by. I'm going to do the outro slide and whistle us home.